Here are the top stories for today, June 10, 2020. Public utility jeepneys, which are not allowed to operate under general community quarantine, may be tapped for delivery services. DILG says the fate of GCQ and NCR depends on the trend of COVID-19 cases. More groups expressed their support to the proposed anti-terrorism law. And the PBA awaits the go signal for IATF for the resumption of practice. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Department of Transportation is planning to tap public utility jeepneys for delivery services. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said since physical distancing cannot be observed inside PUJs, they can instead be tapped for deliveries of basic and essential goods. Roque said PUJ drivers are also being eyed as contact tracers since the country needs to hire around 120,000 contact tracers nationwide to augment the existing over 30,000 contact tracers. Transport Group Piston said there are around 500,000 PUJ drivers who were displaced due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Kanina po kasama ko rin si Secretary Togade, meron din silang plano na gawing delivery service yung ating mga jeepneys kasi nga hindi po pwedeng sakyan because hindi po pwede ang social distancing.
Meanwhile, Roque said the case of the two Piston PUJ drivers who were not released after almost a week of being detained by authorities will have to follow a due process. The two are among the 6 PUJ drivers who were detained for staging a protest in Caloocan City calling for the resumption of their operations.
Dadaan po yan sa proseso, no? Dadaan po yan sa piskalya at kung wala pong ebidensya, madidismiss po yung kaso, no? Pero the police cannot detain him more than 36 hours.
Stranded Ilonggos in Manila are assured of swift return to Iloilo. Iloilo Governor Arthur Defensor Jr. said the provincial government is aligned with the national direction to treat LSIS like repatriated OFWs. However, he said the province should receive a notice at least 5 hours before the arrival of returning Ilonggos to prevent returning Ilonggos from going home directly to their families. The governor said he is banking on the monitoring system of the villages should there be a locally stranded individual who managed to go home without the knowledge of authorities. The local government on Monday formed a provincial quarantine team to facilitate the arrivals of LSIS and OFWs to monitor the health of incoming passengers. The possibility of placing the National Capital Region from the general community quarantine to the more relaxed modified general community quarantine will depend on the trend of COVID-19 cases in the region. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said downgrading Metro Manila's quarantine status to MGCQ is dangerous as transportation and businesses would be opened up to 75% capacity. Aside from Metro Manila, Año said they are also keeping a close watch on the situation in Cebu and Davao. Members of the Interagency Task Force for Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, are expected to discuss the possible transition of areas under GCQ to MGCQ and areas under MGCQ to the new normal tomorrow. Pangasinan, Albay, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Metro Manila, Central Visayas, Zamboanga City, Davao City, Cebu City, and Mandaue City are under GCQ from June 1st to 15, while the rest of the country is under MGCQ. Año said that while the IATF-EID has given local government units the authority to impose localized lockdowns, they should implement strategies to contain the disease. The families of 30 frontline health workers who died of the coronavirus disease 2019 have received the 1 million peso financial aid mandated by the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said Heirs of the 30 out of 32 who died received their 1 million peso check, while they are still coordinating with the families of the other 2 abroad. The department has finished distributing the 100,000 peso check each to the 19 frontliners with severe cases of COVID-19. President Duterte earlier gave the DOH until June 9 to finish distributing benefits to sick and fallen healthcare workers. Meanwhile, the dioceses of PASIG and SORSOGON will now require the faithful who will be attending masses to write down their names as part of contact tracing efforts under the new normal. The Diocese of Pasig said a contact tracing mechanism will be implemented as part of the announcement of the reopening of the church. Seats will be pre-marked with letters and numbers or numbers alone to easily facilitate the contact tracing. Meanwhile, the Diocese of Sorsogon has required the faithful to fill up the logbook and urged them not to change seats for easy tracing. They are also required to always wear masks, get their temperatures checked, and step on footbaths before entering. Under the general community quarantine, religious activities are limited to a maximum of 10 people, while a maximum of 50% seating capacity are allowed under the modified general community quarantine. The European Union has provided nearly 10 million pesos to the Philippine justice sector as part of their relief efforts. The aid package includes 3 million pesos worth of multimedia tablets and different kinds of PPE supplies, which are being turned over to the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. The multimedia tablets will be used to support e-Dalaw and to pilot test the hearing of criminal cases involving PDL through video conferencing in selected areas. Meanwhile, the PPE sets and disinfectants intended to protect PDL and jail personnel shall be distributed to various detention centers with high congestion rate. Malacanang has expressed dismay over the reported increase in cases of violence against women and children since quarantine restrictions were implemented in March to curb the spread of COVID-19. In his 11th weekly report to Congress on Monday, President Rodrigo Duterte revealed that nearly 3,700 cases have been recorded as of June 4. Duterte said the police are coordinating with local government units to protect the rights of women and children amid the COVID-19 pandemic. He added that the Philippine Commission on Women is implementing its Violence Against Women referral system, which provides for a national mechanism for monitoring and reduction of gender-based violence. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque was optimistic that violence against women and children would stop now that quarantine measures have been relaxed since June 1st. The Commission on Human Rights earlier asked the government to help combat domestic violence, saying that women and children have been forced to stay at home with their abusers. Still to come, more groups expressed their support to the proposed anti-terrorism law. And netizens slam defend UPLB over fake death threat. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Kakagaling ko lang ng grocery. Siyempre, hindi ko hahayaan na pumasok ang COVID-19 sa bahay at mapahamak ang pamilya ko. Kaya iiwan ko ang sapatos ko sa labas. At ngayon, maghuhugas ako ng kamay ng 20 seconds. O ayan, wala na ang virus. Tandaan, buhay ng pamilya natin na nakasalalay. Let's heal as one.
Alam niyo ba na pumapasok ang COVID-19 sa ating katawan sa pamamagitan ng mata, ilong at bibig? Kaya lagi kaming conscious dito sa bahay kapag umuubo kami. Lagi kaming naghuhugas ng kamay in 20 seconds. Pag lumalabas kami, lagi namin suot ang mask. Lagi lang natin tatandaan mga mamshi. Buhay ng pamilya natin ang nakasalalay dito. Let's go!
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
More groups are expressing their support for the Anti-Terrorism Bill. The bill was transmitted to Malacanang on Tuesday and is awaiting President Duterte's signature to become a law. The bill introduced provisions imposing life imprisonment without parole on those who will participate in the planning, training, preparation, and facilitation of a terrorist act, possess objects connected with the preparation for the commission of terrorism, or collect or make documents connected with the preparation of terrorism. Under the bill, any person who shall threaten to commit terrorism shall suffer the penalty of 12 years. Any person who shall voluntarily and knowingly join any organization, association, or group of persons knowing that such is a terrorist organization shall suffer imprisonment of 12 years. Marita Mawahe will tell us how various groups feel about the proposed bill.
Various groups expressed their opinion about the passage of the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. For PNP Chief General Archie Gamboa, the bill has safeguards to prevent abuse and protect the rights of the people. He said the passage of the bill is not tantamount to a martial law scenario and that critics can question the measure before the courts. Meanwhile, several groups of Filipinos in Europe, United States, and the Middle East said they want this law to be passed now because of our children and the next generation of Filipinos. They said we all deserve to live in a peaceful and secure environment, as they expressed concern to what they view as the appalling threat of terrorist groups. The groups that you see on your screen are the signatories to the statement expressing support to the Anti-Terrorism Bill. For Youth for Peace and Development Coalition, the passage of the proposed anti-terrorism bill would help address the recruitment of young people into terrorist outfits. According to its chairman, Amorsolo Guerrero, the bill will definitely benefit the future generations as it will address armed insurgency, atrocities, and killings of innocent people caused by the terrorist group. He said the youth should not be swayed by emotional and political rhetorics being employed by militant organizations. For the Urban Poor Group Pambansang Koalisyon ng Maralitang Tagalungsod, the passage of the proposed anti-terrorism bill will protect the vulnerability of the urban poor sector against acts of tyranny, oppression, and violence. PKML President Tomas Haldo said the urban poor sector deserves protection as many terrorist activities have destroyed people's lives and shattered innocent individuals. He said the public should look up at the bright side of passing the measure, which would eventually disarm the process of atrocities, radicalism, and extremism. The urban poor sector strongly condemns the acts of terrorism, including the December 30 Rizal Day bombings, the Davao City carnage, Marawi siege, and assassinations caused by the communist groups. In Agusan del Norte, the indigenous peoples welcomed the passage of the bill, saying the measure would protect them from the abuses of communist rebels. They said NPA rebels have been intruding into their ancestral lands to influence the IPs to join the communist rebellion. They said the law will not only shield the IP communities but will also become a ticket for development programs and progress to far-flung IP and non-IP communities in Agusan del Norte and other parts of the Caraga region. In Cagayan de Oro City, the Northern Mindanao chapter of the Councilors League of the Philippines also expressed its support to the proposed bill, saying it would provide proactive mechanisms to fight terrorism in the country. The group said the measure would mitigate, if not totally eradicate, terrorism and the violence it advocates. And in Samar, Mayor Aran Bollier of Matuguinao has called on critics to look into the plight of villagers in provinces affected by armed struggle before maligning the proposed Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. For several decades, Matuguinao has been known as a hotbed of NPA fighters due to its poor road access. It was only in 2018 when the town got connected to Samar's main highway, after the completion of 21-kilometer Gandara-Matuguinao Road. He said several residents have been victims of extortion, recruitment of minors, and indoctrination. Since the launch of its strong campaign against insurgents, 33 active NPA fighters and 96 diehard supporters from Matuguinao town have surrendered to the local government and the Philippine Army. He said the passage of the bill is a big boost to their campaign against insurgency. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
The Department of Justice assures that Malacanang will thoroughly scrutinize the proposed Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara on Tuesday said President Rodrigo Duterte, being a lawyer himself, has a good grasp of any legal or constitutional issues involved. He also assured that any implementing rules and regulations for the proposed measure will iron out any rough spots. Should the anti-terror bill be enacted into law, the DOJ will work to define more clearly the parameters within which the law will be implemented and enforced to prevent misapplication or abuse. Duterte certified as urgent House Bill 6875, which seeks to give the country's anti-terrorism law more teeth to contain the menace of terrorist acts for the preservation of national security and the promotion of general welfare. The Senate passed a similar measure on third and final reading in February. On Tuesday, Malacanang received a copy of the Anti-Terrorism Bill, which is now up for the President's signature. Netizens on Tuesday criticized an organization from UP Los Baños over an alleged fake death threat made amid a surge in calls to junk the proposed anti-terrorism bill. Netizens slammed the group, defend UPLB, and expressed their disappointment on social media. Twitter user @KikoCorpus said their entire cause will get invalidated by the bill's proponents and defenders. Twitter user @KimbaPuni expressed worry that all UP students will be affected by the decline in credibility caused by the incident. Twitter user @JairoTuazon said issues of death threats should not be taken lightly. In a social media post, Defend UPLB claimed to have received a death threat, but the message turned out to come from their own contact number. Defend UPLB categorically denied that they have manufactured the threat. Meanwhile, Presidential Communications Operations Office Assistant Secretary Mon Qualoping slammed the hypocrisy of individuals calling out the government. He said purveyors of fake news roam around freely, yet play the victim card and blame the administration once they are called out. Senator Bongo issues a warning against those who spread fake news and create dummy accounts on Facebook. Senator Francis Pangilinan also wants a Senate probe on the Facebook issue. Benj Bondoc has the story.
Amid the recent spread of fake news and dummy accounts on social media, Senator Christopher Bongo on Tuesday sternly warned those responsible that the government will actively investigate and prosecute them in accordance with the law. Go said Facebook and other social media platforms should remain a safe space for everyone to converse and exchange views. He said while criticisms are welcome and are part of the exercise of democracy, Filipinos must take part in creating a well-informed citizenry. Go made the statements following the spate of fake news and dummy Facebook accounts on social media. Senator Francis Pangilinan also asked the Senate to investigate the proliferation of fake Facebook accounts that use identities of students, government officials, journalists, and other users. Pangilinan stressed that such online acts could imperil one's security and privacy. The minority lawmaker urged the appropriate Senate committee to find out if there is a need to amend Republic Act 10175 or the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012 and other pertinent laws to make them more responsive to the situation. Meanwhile, a Catholic prelate on Tuesday urged the public to be vigilant against the proliferation of dummy accounts on social media. Bataan Bishop Ruperto Santos said these fake accounts are alarming and disturbing as these can be used to spread misinformation. He also reminded that using someone's name or creating dummy accounts may be covered by one of the 10 commandments, particularly the 9th commandment, which prohibits bearing false witness against their neighbor. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondok.
In our business news, flag carrier Philippine Airlines on Tuesday announced the cancellation of 8 international flights originally scheduled for June 10 to 12. PAL said authorities were not able to give the airline arrival slots at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport because of constraints in the quarantine processing capacity in Manila. The canceled flights are Manila to Los Angeles, Manila to San Francisco, and Manila to Vancouver on June 10, Manila to New York on June 11, and New York to Manila on June 12. The carrier plans to operate flight PR-102 Manila to Los Angeles on June 11 and mount the PR-103 flight from Los Angeles to Cebu instead of Manila. Arrangements are still being done for flight PR-103 to land in Cebu. If this would push through, passengers would undergo mandatory testing for COVID-19 in Cebu. Once passengers get a negative test result, PAL said it would fly them to Manila for free. Up next, development projects in PAG-ASA Island are expected to go full blast with the completion of its beaching ramp. PBA awaits the go signal of IATF for the resumption of practice. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Mga mommies, pagdating sa COVID-19, dapat hindi tayo kampante. Bagamat hindi nakikita ang sakit na ito ay nakamamatay. At hanggang ngayon wala pa rin lunas. Kaya protektahan natin ang ating pamilya. Laging maghugas ng kamay, huwag hahawakan ng mukha, at manatili sa bahay para makaiwas sa sakit na ito. Tandaan, buhay ng pamilya natin ang nakasalalay dito. Let's hear this one.
Hi Caps! Kamusta?
Well, ito dahil sa COVID-19, medyo stress.
Okay lang yan Caps. Napagdaanan ko din yan.
Ano kaya pwede natin gawin, no?
Kung nararamdaman mo na gulong-gulo ka na sa mga naririnig mo, sa mga nababasa mo, mag-pause ka muna, saka ka huminga ng malalim.
Buti na lang tumawag ka. Iba talaga pag may nangangamusta.
A strong body starts with a strong mind.
Tama. Let's heal as one.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Development projects in PAG-ASA Island at Spratlys are expected to go full blast with the completion and turnover of its beaching ramp. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said once the beaching ramp is operational, they can go full blast in improving projects such as barracks, residential houses, and utilities, including solar and diesel hybrid. Among these development plans is the installation of a radio broadcasting center. Lorenzana said the purpose is to develop PAG-ASA Island into a viable community. Lorenzana is also looking at the possibility of constructing another beaching ramp to carry equipment and supplies to other Philippine claimed territories in the Spratlys Island chain. Amid reports of China building military facilities in the disputed islands, Lorenzana said there are no plans to militarize PAG-ASA Island and soldiers deployed are only armed for protection. The local government of Legazpi City has allowed food vendors to resume their business. Meanwhile, Agno Town in Pangasinan lifts its extreme enhanced community quarantine. Janice Cave has these stories.
The city government of Legazpi has allowed food vendors to resume selling provided that they observe health and safety protocols in an orderly system. Mayor Noel Rosal said vendors at Happy Lane and at the side of Peñaranda Park in Old Albay are expected to follow protocols, including the wearing of face mask and face shield, hair cap and gloves at all times, regular hand washing, and regular disinfection of their stalls. Also, vendors or helpers who manifest COVID-19 symptoms shall not be allowed to work, while food takeout policy shall be implemented. In Pangasinan, the local government unit of Agno lifted on Tuesday the town's extreme enhanced community quarantine status. This after completing the contact tracing and other health standard protocol for areas with COVID-19 cases. However, Mayor Gualberto Sison said Barangay Poblacion East, where 3 of the town's frontliners tested positive for COVID-19 reside, will remain under partial lockdown. The public market shall also remain closed until June 12 for stringent decontamination, and all public and private vehicles are prohibited to enter and pass through the municipality unless necessary. Meanwhile, to further shield the province against COVID-19, Iloilo Governor Arthur Defensor Jr. has passed an executive order establishing the provincial quarantine team. The team was formed to handle the return of overseas Filipino workers and locally stranded individuals. This as 13 repatriated OFWs from Iloilo province were tested positive for COVID-19. The task force will receive and monitor incoming OFWs, LSIs, and other passengers, ensure the performance of personal hygiene procedures, and perform quarantine procedures to any persons under monitoring and persons under investigation. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
And in sports, the Philippine Basketball Association has submitted the protocols on how teams can start training amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Commissioner Willie Marshall on Tuesday said he is still waiting for the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases to give the go signal before it can resume practices. The PBA protocol will start with individual conditioning, in which only 4 players, a trainer, and another staff member are allowed inside a practice facility at any time. Marshall said the IATF's final say can also affect the PBA's decision if its 45th season, which has been stalled due to the pandemic, will continue at all. Should it decide to push through, the PBA is eyeing an October resumption to season 45, although it will now be in the form of a single-season tournament. As businesses reopen amid the general community quarantine, authorities in Iligan City inspect selected shops to ensure they can safely operate despite the spread of COVID-19. More on this from Christine Lin Viajante.
Members of the local price coordinating council in Iligan inspected operating food chains barbershops, and salons after the local government placed the city under modified general community quarantine. The checkup aimed to see if the establishments implemented the minimum health and safety protocols that the Department of Trade and Industry recently released.
We understand na ang mga businessmen din ngayon, parang nalulugi talaga sila because ilang months na close. Pero ngayon nga pwede na sila mag-open, we really encourage them nga at least aside from income, tingnan din nila ang health aspect. So dapat i-comply talaga nila ang ating health protocols na mga requirements.
There are 59 indicators for dine-in restaurants and fast food chains and 30 items to check for barbershops and salons in the said guidelines. Some of the requirements needed to be met in the checklist are for establishments to put information materials, markings, wearing of PPEs, observe social distancing, getting body temperature for entering patrons, sanitation, and interval disinfection. Face-to-face sitting is strictly prohibited and dividers should be set up if the space is too small.
On call lang muna kami ngayon kasi dahil nga sa sitwasyon ng buong mundo, dahil nga sa COVID. Okay din naman kami sa mga patakaran ngayon na bago. Kailangan mag-mask, kailangan yung distancing. Ngayon pa lang naman kami nag-open. Sterilize naman lahat ng mga gamit namin. Wala naman sa dapat katatakutan kasi lahat nga sterilized.
LPCC Iligan made clear to business owners that establishments that will not follow the said guidelines will be hindered upon renewal of their business permits. For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Public utility jeepneys, which are not allowed to operate under general community quarantine, may be tapped for delivery services. DILG says the fate of GCQ in NCR depends on the trend of COVID-19 cases. More groups expressed their support to the proposed anti-terrorism law. And the PBA awaits the go signal for IATF for the resumption of practice. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.